The rain hit like 1,000 accusations. Each drop a reminder of the words I'd never take back. Mom, I'm gay. Her face crumpled not in love, but in lightning-fast revulsion. And before I could blink, she was shoving me toward the door, my soaked t-shirt clinging like a second skin of shame. Get out, Leo. You're no son of mine, she screamed, her voice cracking the night open wider than the thunder. I stumbled into the storm, the world blurring into a watercolor of regret, my guitar case slipping from numb fingers into a puddle that swallowed it whole. My only anchor, now drowning just like me. That was the night everything shattered. But it was also the spark that would one day set the country aflame with something rawer than any protest chant. My voice. Not the polished croon of radio hits, but the jagged howl of a kid who'd lost his home and found his fire in the fallout. I was 19, fresh out of high school in the Rust Belt sprawl of Youngstown, Ohio, where steel mills coughed their last breaths and dreams rusted faster than the bridges over the Mahoning River. My mom, Rita, had raised me alone after Dad split for some waitress in Pittsburgh when I was 6. She worked doubles at the diner, frying eggs and swallowing pride, all to keep a roof over our heads in that sagging duplex on Elm Street. I loved her fierce, her laugh like gravel under tires, her hands rough from scrubbing counters but gentle when she'd ruffle my hair after a bad day. But love's a fragile thing in a town where faggot gets whispered behind every bleacher. And when I finally confessed over cold spaghetti in our dim kitchen, it snapped like a brittle bone. I didn't plan to tell her that night. It just spilled out, a dam breaking after months of choking on secrets. I'd been dating Jake, the quiet artist from art class, in stolen moments behind the football field. Kisses that tasted like rebellion and cherry chapstick. But Jake ghosted me after graduation, scared of his evangelical folks finding out, and the ache hollowed me out. Mom came home exhausted, her apron stained with ketchup, and asked why I looked like death warmed over. "What's eating you, kid?" she said, sliding a plate my way. I stared at the fork, the tines blurring. I'm gay, Mom, and it hurts." Silence stretched like taffy, then her fork clattered. "What did you say?" Her eyes, usually warm brown like mine, turned to flint. I repeated it, softer, and that's when the storm outside mirrored the one brewing inside. She didn't cry at first, just stood, chair scraping like nails on a chalkboard. "The devil's in you, Leo. I didn't raise no sinner." Her words landed like punches, each one stealing breath I didn't know I had left. By the time she yanked the door open, thunder rumbling like God's own disapproval, I'd grabbed my backpack and guitar, my beat-up acoustic from the pawn shop, the one I'd strummed Dylan covers on since I was 12. It was my escape, those strings weaving stories of outcasts and wanderers that made sense of my own tangled heart. "Don't come back till you're fixed," she spat, and the door slammed with finality, the lock clicking like a guillotine. Rain lashed my face as I staggered down the driveway, the neighborhood a ghost town of sodium-lit streets and chain-link fences. Cars hissed by on the main drag, oblivious, their wipers slashing judgment across windshields. I collapsed under a dripping awning at the bus stop, guitar case heavy as an anvil, and let the sobs come, ugly, guttural things that echoed off the empty benches. Hours blurred into a numb haze. The last bus to Cleveland rumbled away without me. I had no money, no plan. Just the weight of her voice looping, "No son of mine." Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, painting the potholes silver. I hitchhiked east on I-80, thumb out like a prayer, soaked jeans chafing blisters on my thighs. A trucker named Earl picked me up outside Akron, his cab smelling of diesel and menthols. "Rough night, kid?" he grunted, eyeing my shivering frame. I mumbled something about a fight with Mom, omitting the gay part, small-town survival 101. He dropped me at a Cleveland truck stop at noon, the city skyline mocking me with its jagged promise. Cleveland, the mistake on the lake, they called it, but to me it was a fresh scar, raw and pulsing. I crashed that first week in a shelter downtown, the kind where fluorescent lights buzz like angry hornets and the air tastes of bleach and despair. Bunks stacked like coffins, filled with vets missing limbs and eyes, runaways like me with ghosts nipping at our heels. I buskied on Public Square for Nichols, Dylan, Springsteen, originals scribbled on napkins about lost boys and rainy goodbyes. My voice, husky from crying, cut through the pedestrian shuffle like a switchblade. Folks tossed quarters not for pity, but because it hurt good, that raw edge reminding them of their own buried aches. One afternoon, a burly guy in a flannel paused, his beard flecked with gray. "You got pipes, son. Ever think of the scene?" He meant the clubs on East 6th, Cleveland's grimy heartbeat where indie bands bled for tips. I nodded, throat tight. Music was my oxygen, the one thing Mom couldn't strip away. That's how I met Alexander. It was a muggy July night, the air thick as regret, and I was nursing a warm PBR at Now That's Class, a dive bar with peeling posters and a stage sticky from spilled dreams. I'd scraped bus fare from a week's worth of gigs, my fingers raw on frets, voice hoarse from belting hurt to indifferent crowds. The place thrummed with tattooed misfits and college dropouts, the kind of crowd that cheered for chaos. Then he walked in, Alexander Hale, all sharp angles and quiet command, like a storm cloud in human form. Mid-20s, with tousled dark hair that fell over hazel eyes that saw too much, and a jawline that could cut glass. He wore a faded Ramones tee and jeans ripped at the knees, a silver chain glinting against his collarbone. I didn't know it then, but he was the heir to a Cleveland music dynasty. His dad owned half the venues downtown, the ones that birthed acts like the Black Keys back when they were just brothers with a bucket drum. He slid onto the stool next to mine, ordering a whiskey neat, his voice low and velvet rough. "That was you on the square today, right? The kid with the voice like gravel and grace." I froze, beer halfway to my lips. No one had ever described it that way, like it was something holy, not just noise. "Leo," I said, extending a hand clammy from nerves. "Alexander. Call me Alex." His grip was firm, calloused from guitar strings, and in that touch, something sparked. A flicker of recognition, like we'd both been waiting for this collision. We talked till last call, the bar emptying around us like spent shells. He asked about my songs, really listened, not the polite nods I got from drunks. I spilled fragments. The rain, the door, the silence that followed. Not the full gay confession. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford yet, but enough to crack the door. "Sounds like you've got a story worth singing," he said, eyes locking mine with an intensity that made my pulse stutter. "Come jam with me tomorrow. My place in Tremont. Bring that X." I showed up at noon, heart hammering like a bass drum, to a row house crammed with vinyl stacks and half-tuned amps. Alex opened the door shirtless, sweatpants low on his hips, fresh from a run. Careless confidence that hit me like a gut punch. We played for hours, his acoustic dueling mine in harmonies that wove tight as lovers' fingers. His style was folk-punk edge, lyrics laced with blue-collar fury and fleeting tenderness. "You're a natural, Leo," he said as the sun dipped, passing me a joint on his fire escape overlooking the Cuyahoga's oily shimmer. We smoked in companionable quiet, the city humming below, and when our knees brushed, neither pulled away. That night, as he walked me to the bus, his hand grazed my back. Electric, unspoken. "Stay," he murmured. "World's kinder here." It wasn't love at first chord, but damn if it didn't build like a crescendo. Alex became my harbor in Cleveland's choppy waters. He fronted rent on a sublet in Ohio City, a creaky loft above a bakery where the air smelled of cinnamon and second chances. Mornings, we'd wake tangled in sheets that smelled of him, earth and smoke, trading lazy kisses over coffee black as our moods. He was out and proud, unapologetic in a city that still side-eyed rainbow flags, and his ease pulled me from my shell. "You're beautiful when you sing, Leo," he'd whisper post-performance, his lips brushing my temple, fingers tracing the freckles across my nose. Beautiful. No one had ever called me that, not even in whispers with Jake. With Alex, it felt true like sunlight-piercing fog. But shadows lingered. My voice, that gravelly gift, started drawing eyes. We gigged at the grog shop, the Beachland ballroom, sweaty basements where our duo, rust and rain, packed walls with kids who saw their own fractures in our lyrics. Alex wrote the fire. I poured the ache. One night, After a set that left the crowd roaring, a scout from a Detroit label cornered us. Raw as hell. Got that Lumineers grit with a queer twist. Ever think indie tour? Alex's eyes lit like Christmas, but mine darted to the floor. Fame's glare felt like exposure, a spotlight on the boy mom had banished. We said yes anyway because hunger wins over fear. The tour kicked off in dive bars across the Midwest, Detroit's punk holes, Chicago's loft spaces, Milwaukee's waterfront haunts. Alex drove the van, a rattling Ford with duct-taped seats, blasting mixtapes of Woody Guthrie and Bright Eyes. Nights blurred into a rhythm of soundchecks, sold-out crowds, and stolen hours in motel rooms where his body mapped mine like a secret atlas. "I love you," he said one dawn in Madison, Wisconsin, as rain pattered the window like old ghosts. Rain, always rain. I echoed it back, the words tasting like freedom, and for the first time since that Ohio driveway I believed in happy. But betrayal brews quiet, like thunder on the horizon. It started in Kansas City, after a gig where my solo encore, a stripped-down ballad about rainy exiles, hushed the room to holy silence. Tears streaked cheeks in the front row. A burly trucker blew his nose on a flannel sleeve. Alex pulled me aside backstage, his grin wolfish. "That was magic, Leo. But hear me out." He paced, words tumbling fast. "The label wanted to pivot. Sign me solo. Amp the tragic gay kid narrative for press hooks. Your story's gold. Homeless, outed, voice from the ashes. It's human, real. They'll eat it up." I laughed, sharp and disbelieving. "And us? Rust and rain." His hesitation was a knife twist. "We can still collab. But this is your shot. Don't let us sink it." I swallowed the hurt, chalking it to ambition's haze. But it festered. Promo calls poured in, Rolling Stone profiles teasing the voice that broke America. Features on Out magazine framing me as the Rust Belt Romeo rising from rejection. Alex handled the reins, booking solo openers while our van gathered dust. Whispers from crew. "He's riding your coattails, man. Time to cut loose." I ignored them, clinging to late-night promises. "This is for us, baby. Bigger stage, bigger love." The fracture hit in Nashville under neon haze and honky-tonk wails. We'd snuck a joint duo set at the Bluebird Cafe, but midway through, Alex froze mid-chord. His phone buzzed, label exec, urgent. He stepped out, returned pale, eyes evasive. That night, in our Opryland suite, I pressed, "What's eating you?" He cracked, spilling like cheap bourbon. "They want me out of the picture. Say I'm distraction. The boyfriend angle muddies your solo brand. Offered me a producer gig if I step back." The room spun. Betrayal, hot and metallic, flooded my mouth. "You said yes." He nodded, ashamed but unyielding. "It's business, Leo. For your dream. We fight now, we lose everything." I packed in the dark, voice a whisper shard. My dream was us. The door clicked shut behind me, echoing that Ohio slam. Rain slicked Broadway as I wandered. Guitar case my lone sentinel. Nashville's glitter mocking my unravel. I crashed at a youth hostel, busking for Greyhound fare back to Cleveland. Solo now, truly. The tour imploded. Headlines twisted it. Rising star dumps lover for limelight. Lies, but clicks don't care for truth. Rock bottom waited in a Cincinnati alley. Flu ravaged and fever dreaming. My voice reduced to croaks. A shelter doc patched me up, muttering about pneumonia's bite on the broken. "Kid, you've got fire. Don't let it drown." I clawed back. Gigs and coffee shops where steam curled like unanswered prayers. Months ground by, my sound evolving, deeper, laced with betrayal's bite. Alex texted sporadically, "Miss you. This was wrong." I deleted, unread, building walls higher than Ohio floods. Then came the call that cracked the sky. NPR's Tiny Desk Edition. "Your demo wrecked me," the producer emailed. "That voice, it's therapy in timbre." I flew to DC on fumes, performed in that sunlit nook to a room of suits and souls. No frills, just me and strings, singing Rain Sonata. A new piece born of exile and echo. The clip dropped online and the nation wept. Viral in hours. Leos lament trending, from TikTok teens to ARP grandmas sharing stories of their own closets. This boy's heartbreak healed mine. One tweet read, attached to a photo of a faded pride pin. The whirlwind followed. Talk shows, festivals, a debut album rushed to shelves. But fame's a double-edged blade, spotlights sear as they illuminate. Mom resurfaced via a letter forwarded by my manager, postmarked Youngstown. Saw you on the news. Proud, even if it don't fix us. Forgive. Tears blurred ink. I booked a flight home. The prodigal returned not in triumph, but tremor. Elm Street hadn't changed. Porch light still flickering. Mom's Oldsmobile rusting in the drive. She opened the door, older, lines etched deeper, eyes wary but wet. Leo. One word. A bridge. We sat on the stoop, rain misting soft like apology. I sang her the ballad, voice steady now, weaving our fracture into forgiveness. I was scared, she admitted, hand on mine. Rough still, but reaching. Thought I'd lose you to the world. Didn't know the world would lose you first. Alex appeared last, uninvited, at my Carnegie Hall homecoming. Backstage roses and a note. Our song always. We talked in the green room, air thick with what-ifs. I was wrong, he said, voice breaking. Chased shadows, lost the light. No grand reunion, just quiet accord. He produced my next record. We toured as friends, harmonies healed not by erasure, but embrace. Years on, my voice echoes in stadiums and shelters, funding homes for outcasts like the boy I was. Mom cheers from front row, pride flag draped over her shoulders. Betrayal scarred, but it sang, reminding us that rain doesn't just drown. It cultivates roots deep enough to weather any storm. And in America's fractured chorus, that's the note that lingers. Not perfection, but persistence. The human hum, gay and glorious, bringing tears not of sorrow, but solidarity. The spotlight's glare backstage at the Troubadour in LA felt like Judgment Day, but instead of hellfire, it was applause that crashed over me. Waves of it, pulling me under and lifting me higher. I'd poured Rain Sonata into the mic like blood from a vein. The crowd's silence during the bridge a held breath. Then the roar when I hit the final falsetto, cracking just enough to make it real. Sweat stung my eyes as I bowed, guitar slung low, but it was the stranger in the third row who haunted me. A woman in her 50s, handkerchief pressed to lips, nodding like she'd lived every lyric. Later, she'd find me at the merch table, slipping a note into my hand. Your voice mended what Mom broke. Thank you. That's when I knew. This wasn't just music. It was medicine, stitching strangers' seams. Back in the green room, my manager, Tina, a no-nonsense dyke from Brooklyn with a buzz cut and a Rolodex of miracles, cracked open a minibar IPA. Kid, you're a phenomenon. NPR clips at 10 million views. Oprah wants you for her comeback special. But first, sleep. You've got Austin tomorrow. Austin. South by Southwest. The indie mecca where dreams got scouted or shattered. I nodded, numb from the high, collapsing onto the faux leather couch as the venue's pulse throbbed through the walls. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with rain-slick driveways and Alex's hazel eyes, pleading in the rear view of that abandoned van. Mornings on the circuit blurred into a jet-lagged ballet. 5 a.m. wake-ups to bleary-eyed soundchecks, then panels on queer voices and folk, where I'd field questions like grenades. Leo, how'd rejection fuel your fire? A podcaster probed in Chicago. Mic thrust like a sword. I'd pause, strumming absent patterns on my jeans. It didn't fuel it, it forged it. Mom didn't throw me out to make me stronger. She did it 'cause fear's a hell of a blindfold. But that blindness, it sharpened my sight. Laughter rippled, but the truth hung heavy, a stone in my gut. I hadn't called her since the letter, words sticking like tar. Forgiveness felt like a fairy tale, one I wasn't ready to script. Alex's shadow lengthened with every mile marker. His texts evolved from apologetic haikus, porch lights on if you need it, to professional pings. Heard the Austin slot's yours. Congrats. Let's talk tracks. Tracks. as if our harmonies could be reduced to binary beats. I'd met him again at a low-key fundraiser in Columbus, months after the split, a benefit for Midwest LGBTQ youth, ironies thick as humidity. He looked older, lines feathering his eyes, that silver chain now paired with a wedding band tan line he didn't bother hiding. No, wait, that was my imagination twisting the knife. He was solo, nursing a seltzer, clapping loudest when I closed with an a cappella plea for Bridges Over Rain. Post-set, he cornered me by the coat check. Leo, God, your sound, it's evolved, like heartbreak hammered gold. His hand hovered, then dropped. I wanted to hate him, but hate's heavy baggage for a tour bus. We talked. Awkward at first, words skittering like loose change. He admitted the label's pressure cooker. They dangled security, man. Dad's venue's tanking. My own debts piling. I thought sacrificing us bought time. Sacrifice. The word soured on my tongue. Time for what, Alex? To build on my back. He winced, hazel fracturing. To realize I was the villain in my own story. Come back to Cleveland. Produce your next. No strings, just strings. I laughed, bitter as black coffee. Strings got us here, remember? But okay. One track. For old times. That one track snowballed into an album, Echoes in the Downpour. Cut in his Tremont studio over whiskey-fueled weekends. The loft smelled the same, vinyl dust and patchouli. But we danced careful, boundaries drawn in tape marks on the floor. His touch stayed platonic. A shoulder clap after a take. A shared cigarette on the fire escape where we'd first kissed. Yet sparks flew in the booth. My voice layering over his guitar like forgiveness frosting a wound. This one's about betrayal blooming into ballad. I quipped during Fracture Hymn, and he chuckled low and real. Or lovers learning to duet without devouring. Meanwhile, the nation tuned in deeper. My TEDx talk in Seattle, Singing Through the Storm, Art as Activism, went viral, clips dissected in high school lit classes and congressional hearings on youth homelessness. Leo's not just a voice. He's a verdict on what we discard. A senator tweeted, sparking petitions for better shelter funding. I poured royalties into Rust Belt Refuge, a network of safe houses from Youngstown to Milwaukee, cozy crash pads with guitar loans and counseling, no sermons attached. Opening the first in Cleveland felt like closing a circle. Ribbon cut under sunny skies, kids my age clutching backpacks, eyes wide with wary hope. This is for the rainy nights, I told the press, voice steady. Inside, a mural bloomed. Rain turning to roots, painted by a teen artist who'd been kicked out at 16. But glories got thorns. Paparazzi swarmed LAX after a Grammys nom announcement. Flashes popping like accusations. Leo Voss, is it true your mom's suing for defamation? A tabloid vulture shouted, shoving a tablet my way. My blood iced. Suing? The article screamed headlines. Mother of gay singer claims, exaggerated lies for profit. Rita Voss, quoted through a lawyer. My boy twisted our family pain into fame fodder. It's exploitation, plain and simple. Exploitation. The word echoed her old slurs, twisted now into legal lingo. Tina fielded calls in the limo, her Brooklyn bark a shield. No comment till we verify. Kid, breathe. Verification came brutal. A cease and desist in my inbox by dawn. Mom's scrawl at the bottom. Can't let you rewrite us, Leo. Truth hurts both ways. Truth, as if my songs were fiction, not flesh. I flew to Youngstown unannounced, landing in that same diner where she'd slung hash for decades. Now down to breakfast shifts, arthritis gnarling her hands. She spotted me in the booth, coffee steaming untouched, and froze mid-order. What are you doing here? No hug, just wariness wrapped in a faded uniform. We talked for hours, the lunch rush ebbing around us like indifferent tides. Saw the news. I started, voice pitched low. Suing me? After the letter. Her eyes, crow's feet deepening, darted to the window, Elm Street unchanged, a fresh rain spitting against panes. That label of yours dug up old church talks, twisted 'em into sound bites. Said I called you devil spawn on tape. I didn't, well, not like that. It was fear, Leo, raw and rotten. But now they're painting me the villain, and folks at church, they whisper, fear, again. I leaned in, the booth's vinyl creaking like confessionals. Mom, my songs aren't weapons. They're wounds I wrapped in words. You threw me out, that's fact, not fiction. But I never named you poison. I named you human. Tears tracked her cheeks, carving canyons in powder. Thought you'd forgotten us. The money, the lights. It's a world away. I took her hand, rough as ever, and sang a verse soft. Rain don't erase the roots we grew, just waters what we thought was through. She squeezed back, a dam yielding. Forgive a fool, old woman? The suit dissolved in a lawyer's embarrassed email days later. Client wishes to withdraw. But the real mending, that came slow over diner pie and porch swings, her learning my pronouns, me her recipes. Human, indeed, flawed as factory steel, but bendable. Alex and I wrapped the album in a Tremont autumn. Leaves carpeting the fire escape like confetti for survivors. This is gold, Leo, he said during final mixes. Our shoulders brushing accidental on purpose. No dive back into deep waters, just a tentative tide pool, testing toes. He joined the refuge board, his producer cred funneling grants. I wrote him into liner notes. To the harmony that hurt, then healed. The release party in Cleveland's Agora-packed 2,000. Fans chanting lyrics like anthems. Mom stood front row, pride pin gleaming, clapping till her palms pinked. Alex caught my eye from wings, mouthing proud. A word she'd finally voiced too. As winter gripped the lakeshore, I headlined a holiday benefit at the Rock Hall. My voice echoing off exhibits of Springsteen capes and Dylan boots. The set closed with Nation's Tears. A new cut about collective cracks. Queer kids, Rust Belt relics, moms mending midlife. The crowd wept, cell lights blooming like fireflies in the dark. Backstage, Tina hugged me fierce. You did it, kid. Brought M to tears. And to terms. Terms. Peace, perhaps, with the boy in the rain. The one whose voice didn't just survive the storm. It summoned the sun. Winter in Cleveland bites harder than regret. The wind off Lake Erie whipping like unanswered questions through chain-link fences and bare-branched parks. By January, Echoes in the Downpour had crested Billboard's folk chart. A quiet insurgency against the pop gloss dominating airwaves. Radio hosts spun it between ads for trucks and tonics, their taglines shifting from tragic tale to triumph anthem. I fielded invites to the White House Poetry Slam, Glad galas, even a Super Bowl halftime nod. Though I turned that down, muttering to Tina, no way I'm lip-syncing Heartbreak for beer commercials. She laughed, her buzz cut catching the studio fluorescence. Smart. Keep it real, Voss. That's your superpower. Realness pulled me back to the road. A spring tour snaking from coast to heartland. Brooklyn lofts to Nashville dives. Each stop a suture in the nation's frayed fabric. Fans waited post-show with stories stitched from my songs. Tattoos of lyric fragments on wrists. Journals filled with before Leo timelines. In Portland, a non-binary teen hugged me tear-streaked. Your voice said it was okay to be the storm, not just weather it. I signed their guitar, throat tight, whispering, you're the thunder now. These moments, they were the real chart toppers, metrics measured in mended hearts, not millions. But under the roar, fault lines simmered. Alex and I orbited closer, our professional facade cracking like thin ice. A late-night mix session in March stretched to dawn, coffee cold and ashtrays full. Remember that first gig? He mused, tweaking a reverb fade. You in that dive, voice slicing the smoke. I knew then you were trouble, the good kind. His knee nudged mine under the console, lingering. Heat flushed my neck. I didn't move. Trouble's what got us touring in a tin can. I shot back, half-smile masking the pull. He leaned in, breath whiskey warm. Or got us here, harmonizing ghosts. Our kiss ignited slow, tentative, tasting of second chances and stale takeout. No rush, no reclaiming. Just two men mid-30s, mapping scars with lips instead of lutes. It deepened unevenly, laced with logistics. He had gigs producing up-and-comers in Austin now. A fresh start after Cleveland's chill. Come south, he'd urged during FaceTimes. His loft backdrop swapped for desert vistas. We could build something studio sanctuary. I'd hesitate, glancing at my Cleveland calendar. Refuge expansions, mom dinners where she'd experiment with vegan stir-fries, burning half but beaming through. Roots here, Alex. But visits? Yeah. We jetted weekends, me to Texas, him to Ohio, stitching a quilt of stolen Saturdays. It wasn't fairy tale flawless. Arguments flared over set lists. Your solos eclipse the band. And boundaries? Don't text post-gig if you're buzzed. But make-up sex. No, wait. The tender unraveling after, bodies entwined in wordless apology, taught us grace. Mom's thaw accelerated. A quiet revolution. She volunteered at the Youngstown Refuge, her diner honed efficiency organizing supply drives. Socks for soggy feet, journals for unspoken journals. These kids, she'd say over potlucks, eyes misty. They got fire like you, Leo. Just need a bellows. One evening, porch swing creaking under our weight. She handed me a shoebox. Dad's old letters, yellowed pleas from Pittsburgh. Miss my boy. Tell Rita I'm sorry for the rain I brought. Rain again, metaphor unyielding. He was scared too, she confessed, voice a rustle. Ran 'cause he couldn't face the man he wasn't. Don't let that echo in you. I nodded, tucking the box away, not absolution, but architecture for my own arches. Fame's underbelly snarled louder that summer. A scandal brewing in tabloid troughs. A rival folkie, some trust fund troubadour named Harlan Reed. All earnest beard and borrowed grit. Leaked exclusives to Variety. Foss's rise? Nepotism wrapped in narrative. Mommy issues? Marketing myth. He'd poached my tour drummer, then badmouthed the drama in interviews. Tina seethed. Petty prick. Want me to bury him in countersuit. I waved it off, but it gnawed. Echoes of Alex's betrayal. Fame's fickle forge turning allies to ash. Harlan escalated at Folk Fest in Denver. A friendly panel turning turf war. Authenticity's earned. Not engineered, he sneered. Mike hot. The crowd murmured. I leaned in, calm as a coda. Authenticity? It's the rain you can't wash off, Harlan. Try standing in it sometime. The clapback went nuclear online. Stand in the Rain trended, fans flooding his shows with umbrellas, chanting my lyrics till security cleared. Harlan folded, issuing a mealy apology tweet, but the wind tasted Pyrrhic, reminding me fame fed on friction, not just feeling. I channeled it into Umbrella Uprising. A track dropped unannounced on Bandcamp, proceeds to anti-bullying orgs. Alex co-produced remotely, his Texas twang layering percussion like punctuation. That's your knockout punch, babe. By fall, the tour wound west, culminating at Red Rocks. A natural cathedral carved from Colorado stone. Stars pricking the amphitheater like pinholes in heaven's roof. 9,000 souls filled the bowls. A sea of glow sticks and gay flags fluttering in the chill breeze. Mom flew out, her first arena, clutching a thermos of diner chili like talisman. Alex surprised from Austin, slipping backstage with wildflowers and a grin. Front row if you'll have me. I pulled him close, hearts hammering duet. The set soared, openers with rising queer acts. Then my core, Rain Sonata at sunset, voice carrying to the mesas. Midway I paused, spotlight pooling gold. This one's for the betrayals that built us, I said, launching Fracture Him. Alex's eyes locked from the crowd, tears glinting, mirrored in mine. Encore brought the house down. A cappella circle with fans invited on stage, voices blending in ragged, rapturous chorus. Mom joined, tentative soprano threading mine. A kid from the Refuge belted bass, fists pumped. As the final note faded, echoes bouncing eternal, I felt it. Catharsis not just personal but communal. The nation, in fragments, found its full throat. Post-tour glow faded into strategy sessions. A docuseries pitch from HBO, voices from the veranda, intimate portraits of outcasts turned icons. I greenlit it, insisting on Midwestern makers. Cinematographers from Detroit, editors from Milwaukee. Filming started in Youngstown, lenses lingering on Elm Street stoop where it all splintered. Mom narrated segments, her voice steady, Throwing him out? Worst storm of my life. But storms pass, and sometimes they leave rainbows. Cut to me in the booth, overlaying harmonies, or at least, better umbrellas. Alex relocated north by Christmas, leasing a Tremont annex. Close enough for coffee runs, far for breathing room. We hosted refuge holidays. Trees trimmed with guitar picks, carols twisted queer, jingle bells, batsy smells, drawing laughs from little ones. One eve, fire crackling, he knelt by the hearth. Not proposal, but pledge. Build with me, Leo? Not empire, equilibrium. I kissed his temple, words soft. Yeah, strings attached, this time on purpose. As 2026 dawned, my voice echoed wider. UN panels on youth rights, school assemblies where I'd strum anti-slur seminars. But the deepest cut? A letter from Jake, that high school ghost, forwarded from Ohio City. Heard your story. Wish I'd been braver. Proud of you, man. Closure, crisp as fresh snow. Mom framed it beside Dad's box, a gallery of graces. In America's vast, veined map, from rust to rainbow, my arc bent not toward perfection, but presence. Thrown out in the rain, I found not just survival, but symphony. A nation's tears, tuned to hope's timbre. And in every drop, a reminder, love, like song, endures the deluge. The hush before a stadium encore is sacred. A collective inhale where the air thickens with anticipation. Every soul suspended in the song's spell. At Madison Square Garden that crisp October night, 20,000 breaths held as I cradled the mic, the stage lights dimming to a confessional blue. This is for the downpours we danced through. I murmured, voice gravel-worn from 200 shows, but gilded by gratitude. Then Rain Sonata unfurled, unamplified at first. Just me and the ghost of that Ohio guitar, building to a swell where the crowd's hum joined like an unseen orchestra. Fists raised, tears tracked. A sea of stories, each wave crashing personal. As the last chord resolved, the roar erupted, thunderous, transformative. Backstage, arms wrapped me. Tina whooping, Alex beaming, Mom dabbing eyes with a garden napkin. My boy's a force, she beamed, hugging tight. Force. Yeah, that's what rejection forged and redemption fanned. The garden gig capped the Downpour tour, an 18-month odyssey that grossed enough to seed refuges coast to coast. From Seattle's fog-shrouded safe houses to Miami's humid havens. Media dubbed it Leo's Lament Legacy. But I hated the label. Lament implied lingering loss when really it was liberation's ledger. Post-tour, I retreated to Tremont for recalibration. Mornings journaling lyrics in the frost-laced loft. Afternoons at the diner shadowing Mom's shifts. Learning the art of eggs over easy without overthinking. Life ain't all spotlights, kid, she'd quip, flipping hash with flair. Sometimes it's just sunny side up. Her humor, once rare as rain in drought, flowed freer now, therapy's gift or maybe grandkids on the horizon. Though Alex and I tabled that talk, content in our duet for now. Alex's integration wove seamless, his Austin edges softened by Cleveland clay. He helmed a Harmony Hub program at the Refuge, music workshops for runaways, turning raw riffs into resilience. Your voice started it, he'd say, watching a shy teen shred an original about foster fails. Now there's Carry the Torch. Our nights balanced billowy. Collaborative chaos in the studio, then quiet circuits of the flats. Hand in hand along the river, debating Dylan versus Drake or the ethics of electric versus acoustic. Intimacy deepened domestic. Him cooking paella from a Spanish grandma's recipe. Burnt rice be damned. Me serenading over suds. Love you like a bridge chorus. I'd tease, and he'd retort, steady and soaring. No grand gestures, just gravity, pulling us grounded. Yet conflict's current never fully calms. It eddies, waiting for wind. It resurfaced in spring, via a script from a Sundance darling director, Rainchild, a biopic greenlit by a 24, starring some method heartthrob as Teen Me. Oscar bait. Tina crowed over Zoom, waving contracts like flags. Your story, Leo, raw, redemptive. Say yes and we own the narrative. Ownership. The word chafed. I'd greenlit the docuseries, sure. But a feature? That felt like auctioning my arteries. They want drama dialed up. I confided to Alex that eve, pacing the fire escape as cherry blossoms swirled like confetti regrets. Mom as monster, you as the mustache-twirling betrayer. Hollywood don't do nuance. He nodded, chain glinting in lamplight. Then steer it, consult, make em earn the truth. Wise, but the meetings unearthed old or producers probing the coming-out climax with glee, as if my porch purge was plot porn. Mom bristled at a table read. I ain't no caricature, darlin'. Flesh and flaws, that's me. We pushed back, rewriting Rita as resilient relic, Alex as ambitious ally. Not villain, but vector for growth. Filming wrapped in Youngstown summers, locals extras in diner scenes, lending authenticity's grit. Premiere at TIFF drew tears and standing O's. Critics cooed, humanist him. But the real review? Mom's whisper in the afterparty. That's us, Leo, storm and all. Betrayal's echo, fainter now, found fresh form in activism's arena. I'd keynote a DC summit on queer youth policy, voice thundering for federal funding. Shelters aren't stopgaps, they're springboards. Don't throw kids to the rain. Build the awnings. Applause thundered, but backlash brewed. Conservative pundits on Fox decrying woke welfare, cherry-picking lyrics as anti-family screeds. Petitions surged, defund the refuges. Fueled by fear's familiar fire. Tina armored up, PR blitz, baby. Counter with stories. We did viral vids of refuge grads, doctors, designers, drummers, thanking my tunes for their trajectories. Rain to Rise trended global, drowning detractors in digital deluge. Congresswoman Allison Reyes, a Texas trans trailblazer, cited it in hearings. Leo's voice isn't division. It's democracy in decibels. Through it, Alex anchored, you're not just singing. You're shifting tectonics. His own arc arced too. A solo EP, echoes entwined, duetting our detours into delicate confessionals. We toured it tandem, my headliner slots folding his openers, crowds chanting choruses like communal catharsis. One night in Chicago's Riviera, mid-set, he joined for an unscripted fracture hymn. Our guitars twining like old lovers' limbs, the bridge built to a hush, then harmony. From the poor we pour out, stronger, somehow. Off stage, in the catwalk's glow, he kissed me fierce. That's our truth, Voss. Unbreakable. Humanism's heart pulsed personal that fall, when Mom's doc visit dropped a bomb. Early Parkinson's, tremors teasing her typing hands. Nothing dramatic yet. She downplayed over pot roast, fork wobbling slight. Just life's little jiggle. But it hit like aftershock, her. The rock who'd steadied my shatter, now quaking. We rallied. Specialists in Cleveland, trials in Boston, me clearing tour dates for chemo chairside ballads. Sing me something sassy, she'd demand, eyes twinkling defiant. I did Sinatra swings twisted tender, her laughter the best medicine. Alex stepped up seamless. Meal trains, med runs, his patience a quiet psalm. Family's what we forge, he said, squeezing her hand at a checkup. She patted his cheek. You're all right, city boy, even if you burn the gravy. The diagnosis deepened my discography. Tremor Tune, a bonus track on the biopic soundtrack, proceeds to neuro nonprofits. Recording it in Tremont, Mom guest vocals on the outro, her quaver weaving with mine like silver thread. From shaky starts to steady hearts. The lyric went, and damn if it didn't deliver. Release week, it charted therapy playlists, fans sharing scans and stories. Your song steadied my MS storm. By winter's thaw, Mom's meds stabilized, her stride surer, spirit unbowed. We hosted refuge galas in the revamped diner. Now Rita's Refuge Roast, a community hub slinging solidarity with sides. That New Year's under Elm Street's Lone Street lamp, we toasted. Champagne flutes clinking to more rain, less rain of terror. Alex raised his. To voices that vanquish voids. Mom, arm linked mine. And to sons who sing 'em home. As 2027 bloomed, my path plateaued purposeful. No megastardom chase, just measured milestones. A memoir? Poured out. A singer's sojourn? Ghost-free and gritty. Refuge ribbons cut in every state. A wedding? Quiet quilled in the Cuyahoga's glow. Alex and I, vows voiced over violin, mom officiating with diner wit. Don't let love get soggy, boys. Vows exchanged, rings rust simple, the crowd, refuge kin, folk family, serenaded us sunset. Years layered like lacquer. Kids via surrogate. A girl with my brown eyes and his hazel laugh. A boy strumming at 3. Mom doted, tremors tamed. Her stories schooling them in storms survived. My voice, seasoned now, mentors masterclasses. Teaching not technique, but tenacity. Sing your scars, they'll scar the silence. In America's anthology, tales of trial and timbre. Mine arcs from expulsion to embrace. Thrown to the torrent, I turned it to torrent of tears, national now, not just nocturnal. Not by kitsch, but buoyant. A gay Ohio orphan's ode to outlasting the outcast. And in every encore, the hook holds. Rain falls, but roots rise. Voices, once voiceless, bring the world weeping. Then, wondrously whole.